Y'all, let's please give her another applause. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. I'm so grateful for how you show up and how you help me show up in love. And all of y'all know that, how you help me grow. And what else could I ask for, right? So let's get through this. I can do it, right? I can do it. Lend me your prayers. Oh, I feel so full and so filled. Thank you. Thank you. I have definitely attended church. That's a good thing. So today is the third Sunday of Advent. Y'all know that, right? It's the third Sunday of Advent. And Advent is the Christian season, and the 4 Sundays before Jesus' birth. And Advent in Latin means coming, right? Coming, preparing. That's the idea of Advent. And so what are we preparing for? Well, we're preparing for Jesus' birth, right? But in unity, as y'all know, Jesus is, yes, the historical person, the historical baby that represents and mastered the divine consciousness of love and peace. And so we're preparing to know ourselves as that in an even deeper way. Because as we know in unity, we know that God consciousness, that God mind indwells each and every single one of us. And so Advent is a time, it's a season for preparing for that. Isn't that beautiful? It's preparing for that. And as I look around this Advent season, I feel like the other part that I think all of us have been talking about that have come up here, like a certain kind of darkness, right, that shows up with that. And I feel like every Advent season, just like with Lent, there's something that I go through too, and I fight against it because it's like, wait, but the world is telling me I'm supposed to be in celebration, right? The lights and everything and everywhere is cheer, and yet there's something else in there. Right? There's something else. And I was going to say I learned. How about this? And I'm learning to get more comfortable with that tension. The tension you talked about, the darkness, and knowing the light is going to come. And rather than beat myself up for it, I think about the season, right? It's a season where the darkness comes and we are in the darkness. So it's okay to feel whatever it is that we feel, that tension between the light and the dark. So the other thing I talked about last week is that I talked about I honor my heart's desire, my longing. The goal was to become aware of our longings. Do y'all remember that? We talked about Rome and how Rome was the place of power that determined the atmosphere of Jesus' birth. And I am reading, and I told y'all I'm very inspired by a book called On the Way to Bethlehem. And what he says is that Rome is that place that's beyond our control. That's what he says. Rome is that place that's beyond our control. And so I asked you this week to look at that. What do you feel like is beyond your control? And I would imagine whatever that is, there's some kind of longing there, right? There's a heart's desire. And so I asked you to get curious about it and to get in and just be with it, whatever that is. Just be with it and see what it has to say to you. So we're going to continue that journey, and this time we're going to make a stop in Jerusalem. Because here's the thing, is that honor, that longing gives us what is ours to do in terms of waiting and making waiting a spiritual activity. So, because waiting, as you know, is involved in the longing. And you'll understand why I talk about Jerusalem in a minute. But I want to give us the affirmation. That is, this Advent season, waiting is my spiritual practice. Waiting is my spiritual practice. I love the giggles. That gives me a lot of information, y'all. A lot of information. This Advent season, even if it makes you laugh, just say it. Waiting is my spiritual practice. Waiting is my spiritual practice. In other words, how about this? I patiently await whatever it is that's meant for me. Await whatever it is that's meant for me. I know it is. I know it is. But it has great meaning. Think about it. I patiently await whatever is meant for me. What's in that? There's an allowing, right? There's a surrender. There's a accepting life's flow, right? It's not a forcing, it's not a controlling. That's what the waiting is. So I promised you that I'm talking about waiting and I'm talking about Jerusalem. So we'll look at the first birth announcement that takes place in the Temple of Jerusalem. And in that story, we can see the tension of barrenness and waiting. And that's what I want to talk about this morning. Because the story makes me reflect. Are there areas in my life where I feel barren or where I feel empty? And what am I waiting for? And what is my relationship to that barrenness, that emptiness, and that waiting? So some of y'all laughed, so I would imagine some of you don't like to wait. Am I correct? I'm one of those people. I'm one of those people. So this is for me, as well as hopefully some of you, right? So in Jerusalem, we hear from Angel Gabriel. Y'all remember that, right? And the first birth announcement that we hear about is not Jesus's, but it is exactly John's, Jesus's cousin. So it begins with an elderly priest and his wife, and reading scripture. In the days of King Herod of Judea, there was a priest named Zechariah who belonged to the priest order of Abijah. His wife descended from the daughters of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth. Both of them were righteous before God, living blamelessly according to all commandments and regulations of the Lord. But they had no children because Elizabeth was barren, and both were getting on in years. You'll know that, right? Nobody wants to be barren, especially in those times, right? In biblical times, it was not a good thing. They were meant to populate and have children. And then I want us to look at barrenness metaphorically. You know, it's emptiness, right? That's a piece of it, or it's wanting something and only getting that emptiness back to you. So going on with the story, Zechariah, as you know, goes to the temple to burn incense. Now, that's not just a little thing. It's like, oh, Zechariah's, he's like a daily thing. That's not what that is. It's like, oh, there he goes again. No, this was like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Zechariah. It was a big deal. It's significant. So when he goes, Angel Gabriel tells him that Elizabeth is carrying a child. Now, he said, and the angel says, don't be afraid, Zechariah. God has heard your prayer. Your wife Elizabeth will have a son, and you will name him John. He will be your pride and joy, and many people will be glad that he is born. Now, do y'all remember what Zechariah says? He does. What proof is there for this? I am Gabriel, and I stand in God's presence. God sent me to tell you this good news. But because you didn't believe what I said, you will be unable to talk until the day this happens. Everything will come true at the right time. So, Zechariah, it says here, unable to talk. Some Bible translations say he was struck mute. Y'all remember that? He was struck mute. And some interpret that as he was punished or there was a consequence for not believing. Now, I like to believe, and I believe in unity, what we believe is like, you know what? He took time away. He took time away to wait. He took time in the silence. He took time to prepare, to truly prepare for what was to come, right? That's what I like to believe, and that is our practice. So, I want us to focus on this idea of Elizabeth being barren. I would imagine that even in her barrenness, she held hope. I would imagine they both did. And this is where the waiting comes. Have you ever felt barren? Have you ever waited like in your life you're waiting for something and yet nothing, zero. That's what my son used to say. Nothing, zero, right? Has that ever happened? And what do you do with that emptiness, that barrenness, right? That's a hard pill to swallow sometimes. It's a hard pill to swallow. And in that barrenness, we see what Zechariah and Elizabeth did. They waited. They hoped. They prayed. Zechariah says, your prayer has come. It's been answered. But this sacred activity, this idea of barrenness takes us to the waiting. And what are we waiting for? That's the title of this message. What are we waiting for? I think about everything that I've waited for in my life. As a child, I've said this before, I have siblings that are 20 years plus older than me. That's quite a bit, right? So I wanted to grow up really fast. I was like, they're grown up. Why do I have to be stuck being a child? That's horrible. So I wanted to grow up really fast. Well, here I am, grown up. Here I am. It's not what I thought it would be. No, I'm teasing. No, but seriously, right? Then when I was in grad school, oh my gosh, I just wanted to be done, wanted to be done, wanted to be done, wanted to be done. Just wanted to be done. So here's the problem with all of that. There's no joy in the process. No joy. And then when you get done with whatever it is, there you are. Same person, done. Oh well, finish the PhD, who cares? I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's really what happened. Because I wasn't enjoying the process. I wasn't in a thoughtful, intentional waiting. And that's the idea, is that waiting's a sacred activity. I was living impatiently in angst and frustration. I didn't see waiting as a spiritual activity, and I wanted different relationship to waiting. So waiting matters just as much as arriving. Breathe that in. Waiting matters just as much as arriving. Waiting is a spiritual activity. That's beautiful, right? It's a spiritual activity. It can be intentional. So minister and author Rob Fuqua, who writes this book, says waiting is about receiving, not getting. Waiting means that there are things that we need that we are incapable of getting on our own, and our human nature tends toward getting. We are better getters than receivers. Get the problem solved, get plans made, get. Do you see that? Yet when we wait intentionally, we are honoring being receivers rather than getters, right? Getting implies force. Do you see that? I just want to get this done. Just want to get it done. Got to get it done. Rather than let me wait intentionally and be with it and see how it unfolds. And some of y'all help me do that. Thank you. Thank you. Some of y'all help me do that. Let me wait and see how this unfolds, and let me do it with ease and grace. Not here to do it by force. That's big. That's a big one. That's a big one. I'm still learning. So receiving is just allowing, living in the allowance. Advent invites us to face this tension. Am I forcing things because I don't want to wait, because I feel uncomfortable with waiting? But when I wait, I allow myself to receive. Receiving asks me to let go of what I want and how I want it. When I choose to wait patiently, I give myself time to listen to the still small voice. I give myself time for spiritual discernment. I give myself time to be still and know for my divine self, rather than from my frustrated personality that wants to force. There are gifts in the waiting. There are gifts in the waiting, and we can let it be our spiritual practice, right? Take a breath, y'all. Take a breath. I'm asking us to do big things. So Zechariah came out of his silence, and he said something really beautiful. He said, by the tender of our I don't have my glasses on. By the tender mercy of our God, the dawn from on high will break upon us to give light to those who sit in darkness and in the shadow of death, to guide our feet into the way of peace. He spoke to the darkness, right? In a beautiful way, may guide our feet into the way of peace. And then I came across something that Byron Katie wrote. If any of y'all know her, she's an author and inspirational speaker, and she says, "Isn't it marvelous to discover that you are the one you've been waiting for? That you truly are the love of your life." To me, that speaks to that barrenness and that emptiness. We're waiting for ourselves to know ourselves in a deeper way, that we are that love and we can give it to ourselves. Isn't that beautiful? I want to end this morning's sermon with our beloved Reverend Jerry's words. We stand upon the community that he built. As y'all know, he made his transition this past year. And he delivered these words on December 8th, 2019. It was part of his Advent sermon, and I'm grateful to you for giving them to me. You for sharing it with me. Yeah.
Thank Roger.
Roger. Okay. Thank you, Roger, for sharing it. Thank you so much for sharing them with me. Today is my 66th birthday, and I am grateful. I'm also very surprised it got here so fast. The concept of time is elusive. I'm sure the idea of that has played a big part in centering my Advent messages on deciding what we want our holidays to look like in a proactive way. That idea has run over into my life around my birthday as well. So I thought of the idea of how I will determine my route through my 66th birthday year. The famous Route 66 is seen as a road of chance and possibility. On my 66th birthday, I get to decide what route I want to take. How does that relate to my spiritual mission? How will it be reflected in my willingness to live by faith? I've really emphasized planning during this holiday season, but I also want to emphasize the possibility of surprises. Roger calls them fateful detours. You can call them synchronicities, divine appointments, God things. While on that road, I need to live for my truth and my values. A life that I feel is reflective of me. What does that look like for me? What would that look like for you? Friday was my last day as counselor at Bunker Hill Elementary. My weeks there were among the happiest of my life. The children have such a willingness to give and receive love. I was almost overwhelmed by it every single day. I heard, "Hi, Mr. Roberts," hundreds of times during the day. I got so many hugs on Friday, many of them whole class group hugs, that I really think I'm hugged up for a while. I could use more of that on my route this year. As a spiritual community, our job is an important one that is absolutely vital to the health of our world. The job is love. And the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid. I bring you good news of great joy, which shall be for all people, and on earth peace and goodwill to all." I want this on my journey, to be a bearer of good news. Amen.